and everything else. So most of these ordinances are cookie cutter from other townships.
But each and every one of you have a responsibility to come in and be a part of your community, not just to raise hell, but to help. So, with that, we're gonna move on. Let's get on with the rest of this project because we gotta be out here by 9 o'clock.
I have a quick comment.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not zoning, don't worry. Data centers are coming in a lot of communities. A lot of people are upset about it. You know, I think that, you know, a lot of us don't come to these meetings because usually we just trust you. We voted for you, we trust you. But this has broken our trust. And I'm getting to the zoning question, don't worry. But in another community in Virginia, they again had the similar data center proposal. They voted it through. And so the people felt a break in trust, and so they recalled all 4 people who voted for it, and then got 4 more people in, and they shut down the data center, and the data center was never built. So I just wanted people to know that that is an option. I'm wondering what steps in your process, in which could we come in and change things so that we can stop the data center. Thank you.
Should have started last year, a bit helpful, you know what I mean, or a couple of years ago, when they proposed this before, so,
So is it too late?
yeah.
It is?
Yeah, but like I say, they don't necessarily mean that they're gonna do it.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that they have the right to rezone, just like you have the right to rezone for a dirt bike track or anything you want to.
You broke our trust.
Do you guys have the final say in that?
In your community.
I'm sorry. Do you guys have the final say in that? Is it? I don't know that I'm getting into.
Right.
Like,
So what
like I said,
happens-
I'm getting into it.
So what happens is there are rules like I
Yeah.
have to follow, you know, there's a process. You go through zoning,
Yeah.
and you go through, plan and review, you know what I mean? There's processes we have, it
Of course,
just
yeah.
don't shoot right in and then that's it. So there's a process, and you have to learn the process. Like I say, come in, get involved.
I would love to.
Learn a little bit, be good to see you.
Yeah. So the process was someone proposes the idea, and then it goes to rezoning, right?
Right.
All right. Can
It
we
goes-
know?
Goes to zoning first. then it
Yes,
goes to
but
planning.
someone proposed the idea originally, right? Can we know who that person was and if they're an Augusta Township resident?
Well, you don't have to be at Augusta Township.
All right.
You can move someone can move to your community and say, hey, I want to put a farm in, or like I say, racetrack or whatever. You
I
know?
gotcha.
So you come in and say.
No, I'm
hey,
asking these, I'm just trying to,
Right, no,
yeah.
you're fine, that's
Yeah.
fine. Does it meet the requirements?
That's
And
it,
where
yeah,
we're at.
I got you.
And then there's a process that we have to follow.
So, like you said, it meets the requirements, so then, after it meets the requirements, you guys vote on whether it, you know, that
No,
property can, whatever can be built on there, correct?
Once it meets the requirements, then it goes through a set of rules that whatever proposed job they do, they have to follow. If they
Gotcha.
don't follow the rules, then they can't do it.
Okay,
That's just the way it works.
I got you, I didn't know, I was
No,
just
that's
asking.
good, and it's good to come in and ask questions.
Yeah, I
So
mean-
you don't get the misinformation.
I just moved here 5 years ago, so I wanna know what's going on. I think at, 32, it's probably about time to get involved in the community.
Sounds like a
So,
good idea. Be good to have you.
Yeah,
Be good to have you. All right, we're gonna end that comment.
Sorry, one quick question. Ask one more. I know
Yes,
you
ma'am.
guys want to get moving. My question is, when everyone keeps
Yeah.
saying that this project meets the requirements, can you explain how that is? Why does this project meet the rezoning requirements?
The area meets the rezoning requirements. So, Robert, your planners and have already, they can reiterate that a lot more in depth than I can because that's their portion of the job. They meet the requirements for rezoning. And that,
Right, so like maybe Robert Yerk or Keith could explain why this
They
meets the
do that at the
requirements.
planning commission and the rezoning meetings, you know, but they can probably reiterate some of it today, yeah?
I do have a statement that I'm going to read before the ordinance is read that explains it.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Oh, you want me to read it now?
Read it to them and then we'll be done.
Okay. I was doing it like
We'll knock it out now, because then it just cuts back to some of it.
that. The Augusta Township Planning Commission reviews, sorry about
Please
that.
hold back the conversation so everyone can hear.
The Augusta Township Planning Commission reviews rezoning applications, site plans, subdivision applications, and other development proposals to ensure they comply with the Augusta Township zoning regulations and align with the township's vision as outlined in the Augusta Township's master plan. A rezoning application from agricultural to commercial in the southwest corner of Augusta Township was denied by the Augusta Township Planning Commission and will now be voted upon by the Augusta Township Board of Trustees. In making this decision, the Planning Commission and Board of Trustees are aware the applicant will be applying to build a data center on this site if the rezoning is approved. Does this proposal comply with the community's vision as outlined in the Augusta Township's master plan? According to the Augusta Township planner, Carlisle Warman, the subject site and the surrounding area are mostly vacant with agricultural residential to the south and east. The west side of the site and surrounding area is the border between Augusta and York Township. Most of the project sites are classified as planned unit development of the future land use map. The classification of planned unit development allows for some flexibility with the township and to be particular on low-intensity land uses they choose to allow. This classification could allow a rezoning that would allow a variety of uses. Most specifically, it allows research and technology uses, which this use falls under, therefore, and request does meet the Augusta Township Master Plan. We are of the opinion the application is consistent with the language of the master plan that specifically suggests research and technology uses for this area of the township. And most of you know that a large, well, I can't remember the exact acreage, the larger part does need to be rezoned, but a good percent of the property they're gonna use is already zoned general industrial, which already allows for this. If the whole thing was already zoned general industrial, we wouldn't even be having this conversation now. But we do need to rezone 530 acres. It is a contingent rezoning. If they don't meet all the requirements, the site plans, follow the laws of the state, the township, it's not gonna go in and it'll go back to agriculture residential.
You got everybody catch that? You should be able to get a copy of it. Is there something we can share?
Yeah, I can make a copy.
We can just put it on the webpage, right?
I can put it on the website, absolutely.
Okay, so we done went way past what we should have on that, so let's move on.
Can I just make one statement
Yeah.
about the rezoning? Under goals of the master plan, the very first itemized bullet point is preserve the rural character of Augusta Charter Township through the management of growth and preservation of natural resources and active farming. This project, and why I voted no, is in a direct conflict of this statement.
Well, like I say, our planners said it meets the requirements, so, and Wendy works on our board, so she interacts with what's going on, so I'm glad to have your comment. It just helps with what we're doing here. All right, let's, it does, it just
Did you
is,
address her comment?
excuse me?
Did you address her comment then?
No, I was, is there anybody else who got another?
Every question has been about zoning, and which comes back to the master plan. She brought specific information from the very first thing in the master plan. Can you address that?
I can address it. So the master plan is this thick. And so, yeah, that is a big concern. And if you look at the map in the master plan, what she is referring to is most of the map of the master plan is rural. There's only a few specific areas. The southwest corner is one of them. The Lillis, right in the main strip of town up to Rossville is another area. Down here by the school is another area that are zoned in the master plan to have other businesses and things brought in. There's only a few areas in the whole township that are, look, and the master plan is on the website for you to look at the maps. and see what areas are zoned. And that is something else that can be worked on as well, like and actually it was done 21, right? So if next year, we'll be working on the master plan, we always ask for participation on that as well. But the maps on the master plan do specifically show those areas, different areas that are zoned for that. So the biggest part is what she said, and that I'm sure that is the first part of it, because this is a rural community, and we don't want to see that change either, but there are specific areas that are designated for growth.
If it is a rural community and they are going to be taking 1 million gallons of water from our township, there is no
They're
possible
not
way.
taking, no,
That's not true.
it's not a zoning, but that's not what's happening
That's not,
at all.
that's
So,
not what's happening, and that's not part of zoning, but it's, thank you. Yes, sir.
My question is, you explained it, that process with the data center or whatever, it went through, they had a zoning meeting, or they had a, what is the other board? The planning commission
public
meeting.
hearing.
The planning commission then says, for instance, the planning commission votes against allowing this to happen. Then you're saying that it then goes to the board right here, am I correct?
The only reason it came to the board, sir, is because it's a rezoning issue. If it would have been, right, like the cell tower that got voted down does not come to the board. If now, it may, if there's a lawsuit or something from the repercussion of it, then that's a different story, then the board has to address it. The reason this came to the board is because it's a rezoning.
So, because I probably can go home until something happens after, but I'll stay and address it. So, if it goes, and it's not a zoning issue, you all won't see it unless, you're telling me, unless that company decides to file a legal complaint or something? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
You know, you get two different, you get two of them mixed up. Well, you talk about cell tower and the.
No, but it's still the same thing as what I
No, two different, two completely two different.
So the cell tower does not have to be rezoned. It confirms to the zoning there. So the zoning is in compliance there for the cell tower, so it does not need to be rezoned. Just like I said, this part of this project is general industrial, and general industrial allows for the technology center to be there. So if the whole thing was general industrial, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. But because a portion of it is agricultural residential, that's why it has to be rezoned.
Okay, so I'll save my comments for later, because I would want to know if we don't want the cell tower, what can you do to help us keep it out?
Two different,
So I'll wait.
yeah. All right. Let's close that and get started with the rest here.
Okay. All right, so I would make a motion to approve the draft Board of Trustees meeting minutes from May 27th, 2025.
I'll second.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And tonight we have Rosalind Morgan with us, and she is an applicant for our Tax Board of Review as an alternate. Did you want to say anything, Rosalind? I know this is a tough crowd.
Hi everyone, my name is Rosalind Brogan. I'm a registered nurse and I'm a PhD prepared nurse too. And I have this NGO Profile for Life Cancer Foundation. We do a lot of education. We kind of advocate for women that have had breast cancer, about mastectomy and all those good stuff. That's what I do. And I actually went to the office. I met with Kimberly and I told her I've been involved in community work. You know, I do a lot of community work. And I was like, okay, I think I need to get involved in this. And I was talking to her and she said there's a position that might be open. And I am really very interested. I mean, this is really interesting. At first I was scared. And I got a little bit relaxed, and I think everybody is doing well. I think I like the transparency, you know, people coming out to say their mind, and no offense, no fights. I think we are all, at the end of the day, we are fighting for the right of everybody. We want what is good for everybody. So it's beautiful. I really want to be part of this. Thank you.
Thank you. So I would make a motion to appoint Rosalind Borgen to the Tax Board of Review as an alternate.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Oh, do a roll
Yeah.
call, I'm sorry. Adams,
Yes.
Buick,
Yes.
Gifford,
Yes.
Guernsey,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Crane,
Yes.
Waller, is a yes.
Next. Oh, okay, so Chris Nordstrom from Carlisle Wortman, did you want me to say anything or you want to just take it?
No, that, you can go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I just want to tell the residents that he worked with us in the past and we came up, it's 22 to 26, we did a park and recreation master plan and a feasibility study through Carlisle Wortman. Things have changed since then. We put it on the ballot 4 years ago to work with Parks and Pathways to get some extra money, to get the grant money to be able to match it, and it did not pass. So now we're readdressing this as in a different light and looking at it's a connecting community grant that would help bring the communities together, and it's a great grant opportunity to help us to be able to get some pathways in our community.
So,
Yeah, go ahead, Chris, thanks.
thanks. So I'll give a little bit of an introduction to the concept and what the Connecting Communities Grant Program is. The Connecting Communities Grant is administered by the Washington County Parks and Recreation. It offers up to $300,000 for construction, and it offers lesser amounts for planning purposes, and that's what we're actually looking at, is using some money for planning to develop a trail feasibility study. I met with Ms. Gonski, Trustee Crane, Ms. Burek, and Belinda Domas, thank you. And we talked about some different options. And one of the things that came up was from the Washington County, it's called the WATS plan, which is the Washtenaw Area Transportation Study. And one of the priority routes that they have is going from Ypsi Township along Stony Creek Road, down through into York Township, and then continuing on down to Milan. I spoke with the Parks and Recreation Director. He's very interested in seeing that route developed. I think we would have no problem whatsoever getting a grant to actually do the feasibility study. And that study is exactly what it sounds like. We're looking at what the conditions are there, trying to determine, does this make any sense to go through this area? Looking at things like terrain, wetlands, trees, how close are we to houses, so on and so forth. So there would be a public component, where you have a chance to come and talk about this too. But the first step is to actually do this study. So my first request of you, the board tonight, is giving me permission to go ahead and complete the application for you. Along with that, one of the things that Connecting Communities really likes, and it makes sense because of the name Connecting Communities, is having an interjurisdictional study developed. So if you look at that route that they're talking about along Stony Creek, and then however else it might run going down to Milan, you might involve Ypsilanti Township, and we helped them do a non-motorized plan about 6 years ago. We would be wanting, obviously, work with Milan, and we did a non-motorized plan for them, and a feasibility study down there, and then York Township as well. We don't necessarily have to have their buy-in, but you really want to have their buy-in. So what I'm asking is, if you are willing to have me prepare the grant application, is allowing me to reach out to these different communities and see if there's any interest in joining in on this. And if there is, that would then change the scope of the study a bit, so then I can put together a proposal that we would then put through to the county and have them fund. The Connected Communities Grant does have a match of 20%, so that's something that we'd want to take into account. And again, I have not developed the proposal yet for the actual study because it's still a little bit in flux as to what exactly this full scope would be. And that's where I am, so.
Does board have any questions for Chris?
It's not, at this point, it's not gonna cost us anything to do this study, is it, the township?
The Connecting Communities grant is a reimbursement grant, so you would have to put the money out in front. But then you get the money back as soon as the study is complete.
Is there any way that we could,
I'm sorry, that's the 5,000 that we were gonna.
No, the 5,000 is for the grant, preparing the actual application. And I don't honestly think it's gonna take a full 5,000 to do that, but that's just to make sure we've got all of our costs covered. The study itself, again, is gonna depend entirely on what the full scope is. If we've got 4 communities involved, I would expect all 4 communities to pitch in on this, and you know, pay their fair share. If it's just, we're only gonna focus on the part here in Augusta, that's a much smaller scope, obviously a much smaller budget, and then, you know, that would be on you.
so we need more information on like, so you need more information on like where, I guess before you decide to make a call on that, have to see where, get an idea of where it's gonna be at, right?
But that's kind of, it's a chicken and the egg type scenario, because we don't want to, what the whole point of the feasibility study is, which routes out of all these different potential alignments are the ones that make the most sense. It might be that it just goes right down Stony Creek and that's it. It might be that it goes down Stony Creek and then cuts south a bit, and then cuts east a bit, or, you know, we don't know. There's a lot of things that I can look at a map and say, hey, this looks like a great route, but there might be, for example, a utility corridor that makes even more sense to pull people off from the road and have a path go down that way. It might be, you know, what is the form of that pathway going to be? Is it going to be bike lanes on the road, or is it going to be a 10-foot wide safety path that's off, 10 feet off the road? So those are all things that have to kind of play into it, and unfortunately, that's why it is a feasibility study, just trying to figure out what is the best solution to make it so people can take a non-motorized alternative to get from Milan up to Rolling Hills.
So if the community says no, we get that money back.
You're paying for the study.
So that's where I'm at with this. I'm looking.
Well,
I think it's-
we've already been approved the grant to do the study, right?
No, right now, I'm asking if you are going to approve my time to put together an application for the grant. Then once you get the grant, then there's whatever that amount is going to turn out to be.
So it's basically just gonna be on that side of York and Stony Creek, so why could, we have a lot of people here that run bicycle, why couldn't we have it come from Willis straight down into Stony Creek? That would benefit us here, instead of being down in that far corner.
And again, that's kind of the point, that would be part of the public participation component
A
of the
lot of
study.
people walk them down the dirt roads, and we already know those dirt roads ain't safe, people fly
Right.
down these dirt roads. It'd be a lot better if people could do it in an enclosed area, or not enclosed, but a different area where they could go from here to there, maybe go to there, or go south on
Yeah.
bikes.
So we did do a feasibility study 5 years ago, looking at putting pathways through the school campus and actually going down to what, it was a township-owned property that was being considered for parking. The study found that it could be done, but it would be prohibitively expensive to go down here because you're going through wetlands, you have to go over a Washington County drain, and the drain was kind of the killer. So that was, that's a different animal, totally different study. Again, possible, and that study was actually funded through a Connecting Communities grant as well.
Yeah.
So that was gonna be my next question, is if we were talking about where it was at the last time because of the wetland thing.
Well, that study was different because we were centering the pathways more around the schools, and we were hoping that the schools would buy in so it would help the school kids either walking to school from Belmead, and maybe having a crosswalk, or the kids that had to walk down Whitaker to give them pathways, but it just got to be too expensive with the drainage and other issues the school had going on. So we had our focus to work with the schools to help the school kids, you know, have places to walk around the school, to school and back. So now, this is a little different, we're changing, we said that didn't work, so now we're looking at maybe trailways, pathways that would help the community. You know, in this instance, you're connecting with Rolling Hills, Park.
And part of the challenge that you've got with any kind of a pathway system is that system has to start somewhere. The school concept was strong. I think it was connecting a couple of neighborhoods, it was getting kids off the street, making it a little bit safer. It didn't work out, but that could have been the impetus for further trail development. Since that is pretty much off the table, at least for right now, this other option is something that the county as a whole is very interested in, and we think it would be something that you would be able to get significant funding, whether it be through TAP grants through the state and federal offices, or through SEMCOG, or through Connecting Communities, or through the DNR with their Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund grants. There are all kinds of pots of money to draw from if you've got a route that makes sense.
So the significant funding we're talking about is to do the projects itself.
For the actual construction.
So, I
So it's
guess,
possible we have more backing than we did the last time, I guess,
well,
as well.
I guess is where I'm at.
Was this grant come from our tax dollars we're paying for
Yes.
parks and pathways?
Yes,
And we're already paying the taxes,
you are, yes.
and we're getting nothing for it.
If you're not using, if you aren't pursuing a Connecting Communities grant, then you aren't getting anything from it.
I like the idea of being able to have something like that, but to be honest with you, there's, in that area, I don't see where there's anything besides a bridge between Milan and Ypsilanti, where Ypsilanti would more benefit from this than what Augusta Township would.
I
So-
certainly understand your point, and I don't mean to interrupt, I apologize. But this is something that would actually give you the opportunity to connect to a much larger trail system. And I understand, it's in the upper northwest corner, so it's not like it's going right into the middle of the densest housing you've got in the township. But it does provide you an opportunity to link up to the border-to-border trail, which is part of the Iron Bell Trail, which is a 2,000-mile trail that goes from the Upper Peninsula all the way down to Detroit, which is part of the North Country Scenic Trail, which is a 10,000-mile long trail that goes from New Hampshire to North Dakota. So you do get something out of it. It's not as immediately attainable, or obtainable, I guess, for your residents as, getting onto a sidewalk and walking straight to it, because it's cutting through a corner. But as I said, this is a way to start. And if this works and your residents like it, then that gives you an opportunity to say, okay, well, now let's look back at the recreation plan. We had some routes on there. Maybe we want to do another mile here and connect over onto Willis. Or maybe we want to go south, or however you want to do that. But this gives you that opportunity to take advantage of grant funding that's out there through a variety of pots, really minimize your costs for construction. But you've got to have that study done first, unfortunately, as part of it, so that everybody knows that the intention, that it's going to work before they start putting money into it.
So that money that we put up front to have you apply for to get the grant, once we get the grant, we could recoup that money back that we paid you?
Not for preparing the actual, yeah.
So,
Okay, yeah.
so where I'm at with this is that the area, we had to have an idea of the area where it's gonna be at, right? And then you gotta figure out who's gonna maintain this path. And then also, what residents are gonna be affected by having this in their front yard or in their backyard.
Right.
So to just fork off some cash right off the rip without having anything to show for doesn't sit right with me. So I guess how long do you have to have before you have an answer about this? So that we can make contact with the residents to see if, hey, this may be a possibility in your community. Is this something that you want? Is this something that you don't want?
So the county needs to know if you intend to apply for this cycle by July 15th.
That's before our next meeting.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
The thing is, so it's like he was saying, everybody pays into this, all of our every taxpayer in Washington County pays into the Parks and Recreation.
Correct.
If you don't do anything in our community, none of our residents are gaining anything from it.
Right.
And so it's a $5,000, amount to get on, to have him apply for the application. And then if we get awarded the grant, the $5,000 we would just be out, right? But if we get awarded the grant, then it could be huge, like a lot of money to go into it. And that's when you do your planning process, because we don't even know at this point until we get the grant money, if it's something that we would, or what we would do, or, you know, we have to plan on. Yeah, what we could do, or how much we would.
But their sales pitch to me sucks.
I mean, it's
You-
like
you-
that.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, I don't know, we don't have enough time. I don't think, we should have talked about this last month. That way to give us.
Yeah, we just
Right.
talked about it.
I like the idea of having a grant, and it's great. Hey, man, you know, put some money in to help you do a job over here and everything. It sounds good, because I'm all about the community and seeing stuff go good for it, but, you know, this is the community's cash too, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So
I
you're gonna
understand.
peel out $5,000 of their money, and then if we decide, well, this is just, hey, we don't want this in our backyard, or you get enough people that say no, well, we're just out of $5,000. Well, we could have a lot of pizza parties for the community for that kind of money. You see what I'm saying? So
I do.
I just,
But on the other hand, I also feel like if we don't investigate it, then we don't know, right? And
We are paying taxes for not getting anything. I mean, like $100-something a year, we're paying taxes.
for them to do this anyway, right?
And
For
we're
the
at
parks
zero
and
as of right now.
like we, out of your tax
So do we
dollars.
do an investment up front to see?
Oh, I see what you're saying. The community's already paying so much, so
Yeah,
we'll
And
gamble.
we have nothing from the county.
but we don't get anything right now, but this is an opportunity to get something back for it.
Okay, well,
And
that's just my
yeah.
thought process.
Okay, well, I do have two motions, and, you know, we'll just see how it goes, okay? All right, so first, I would make a motion to establish an Augusta Township Pathway and Sidewalk Committee with members trustees Stephanie Praying, treasurer Susan Burek, clerk Kimberly Gonzi, deputy clerk Belinda Gomez, a member of the planning commission, and a township resident to serve from now until December 31st of 2028. Meetings will be held as needed.
Second.
All righty, do a roll call on Adams,
Yes.
Burek,
Yes.
Kipper,
Yes.
Gonzi,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Praying.
Yes.
Waller should be yes.